The American Civil War was a pivotal moment in the history of the United States that lasted from 1861 to 1865. The war was fought between the northern and southern states of America, with the primary cause being the issue of slavery. The North wanted to abolish slavery, while the South wanted to keep it. At the time, slavery was a common practice in the South, and it played a significant role in their economy. The North, on the other hand, was primarily an industrialized society that didn't rely on slavery. This difference in economic structure was a major factor in the conflict. The war began when the Confederate States of America, made up of southern states, seceded from the United States, forming their own government. This move was a direct challenge to the authority of the federal government and President Abraham Lincoln, who refused to recognize the Confederacy's legitimacy. The war was a brutal and bloody affair, with both sides suffering significant casualties. The North had an advantage in terms of resources and manpower, but the South was more determined and had a better understanding of the terrain. The war had a profound impact on American society, leading to the eventual abolition of slavery and the reunification of the country. However, the conflict also left deep scars, with many communities torn apart and families separated. As the war progressed, both sides adopted new tactics and technologies, with the Union's blockade of southern ports being the key strategy. The Confederacy responded with guerrilla warfare and the use of submarines and ironclad warships. The Emancipation Proclamation, issued by President Lincoln in 1863, declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were free. This move was a significant turning point in the war, as it shifted the focus from preserving the Union to ending slavery. The war ended on April 9, 1865, when Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. The surrender marked the end of the bloodiest conflict in American history, with an estimated 620,000 soldiers losing their lives. Despite the Union victory, the aftermath of the war was not easy, with many southern states struggling to rebuild their economies and communities. Reconstruction, the period of rebuilding and readjustment following the war, was a difficult and contentious time, with tensions between the North and South remaining high. In conclusion, the American Civil War was a complex and devastating conflict that shaped the course of American history. The war was fought over the issue of slavery and led to the eventual abolition of this practice. Although the war was won by the Union, the aftermath of the conflict was challenging, and it took years for the country to heal and move forward. The impact of the Civil War is still felt in American society today, with its legacy evident in debates over race, politics, and social justice. The war's outcome played a significant role in shaping the modern United States, including the growth of industry and the expansion of federal authority. The war also had a profound impact on the soldiers who fought in it, with many experiencing trauma and lasting physical and emotional injuries. The experiences of Civil War soldiers have been documented in countless memoirs, letters, and diaries, providing a window into the human cost of this conflict. One way that the Civil War is remembered and celebrated today is through reenactments, where volunteers dress up in period clothing and recreate battles and other events from the war. These reenactments can be controversial, with some arguing that they glorify a violent and divisive period in American history. Despite the controversies surrounding the war, it remains a significant moment in the history of the United States, with lessons that continue to resonate today. As Americans continue to grapple with issues of race, inequality, and social justice, the legacy of the Civil War serves as a reminder of the struggles and sacrifices that have shaped the country's past and continue to shape its future. So, what do you think about the American Civil War? Do you think it was worth fighting over the issue of slavery? How do you think the country would be different if the Confederacy had won the war? It's important to remember that the Civil War was not just about slavery but also about the competing economic and political interests of the North and South. However, the issue of slavery was a fundamental moral question that could not be ignored, and the war became a means of resolving that question. As for the outcome of the war, it's difficult to say what the country would be like if the Confederacy had won. It's possible that slavery could have continued in the South, with profound implications for the nation's economy, politics, and social fabric. It's also possible that the war could have led to the creation of multiple, smaller countries, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. What is clear is that the Civil War was a defining moment in American history, one that shaped the country's trajectory for decades to come. The legacy of the war can still be seen today in the ongoing struggles for civil rights and equality, as well as in the enduring debates over the role of government and the balance of power between the federal and state governments. Ultimately, the Civil War reminds us that the struggle for a more perfect union is an ongoing process, one that requires us to confront the difficult questions and challenges of our time with courage, compassion, and a commitment to justice and equality for all. One of the lasting legacies of the Civil War is the sacrifices made by the soldiers who fought and died on both sides. The war was a brutal and costly affair, with young men from all walks of life forced to put their lives on the line for their beliefs and their country. Today, many communities honor the sacrifices of Civil War soldiers through memorials and monuments. However, there is also a growing recognition of the need to confront the complicated and often troubling legacy of these symbols, particularly those that celebrate the Confederacy and its leaders. This recognition has led to a renewed debate over the place of Confederate symbols in American society, with many arguing that they perpetuate a legacy of racism and white supremacy. Some have called for the removal of Confederate monuments and the renaming of schools, streets, and other public spaces that honor Confederate leaders. While these debates are often contentious and emotional, they reflect a broader recognition of the need to confront the difficult truths of our history, particularly the legacy of slavery and racial oppression. Only by acknowledging and grappling with this legacy can we hope to build a more just and equitable society for all Americans. In conclusion, the American Civil War was a defining moment in the history of the United States, one that shaped the nation's trajectory for decades to come. While the war was fought over the issue of slavery, it was also a contest between competing economic and political interests, with profound implications for the country's future. Today, the legacy of the Civil War continues to resonate in American society, particularly in debates over race, social justice, and the role of government. As we continue to grapple with these challenges, we must remember the sacrifices of the soldiers who fought and died in the war and honor their memory by working to build a more just and equitable future for all Americans. It's also important to recognize that the legacy of the Civil War is not just a matter of history, but an ongoing struggle for justice and equality. While significant progress has been made in the fight for civil rights and social justice, there is still much work to be done to address the persistent inequalities and systemic injustices that continue to plague American society. As we look to the future, it's important that we continue to confront and grapple with the difficult questions and challenges of our time, just as those who fought in the Civil War did. Only by acknowledging and addressing the legacies of the past can we hope to build a more just and equitable society for all Americans. So, what are your thoughts on the legacy of the Civil War? Do you think the United States has fully reckoned with the legacy of slavery and racial oppression? What do you think needs to be done to ensure a more just and equitable future for all Americans? Thank you for watching this long video today, and I hope this video will help you.